That'd be a 5.
Oh, let me get my drink.
Well, there you go, folks. Welcome to the simulcast on Radio FM88 Australia from the studios here in Brisbane. Our co-host is in the UK. No, she's not in the UK today. She's down there across the border in a place called Mullumbimby, Wilson's Creek. But our co-host has introduced us to a lady who lives around the corner in Ocean Shores. Now, this is a great place. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually built by Perry Como, one of those crooners in the 60s, who created one of those resorts where you have the golf course and all the luxury units all around it. Anyway, I'm sure our co-host will be able to extract that information from our guest. And it's a good evening to you there, Zoe.
Good evening. Thank you, Jeff, for the intro. And what a wonderful thing this is, that it's Jeff's baby. And I'm grateful to be invited to be here. And tonight I've invited Fiona Love. She's a beautiful young woman that I've met in this town, and I first became aware of her writing on a local page, a Facebook group, and she's quite the mediator, and I think she really bridges a gap between many things, bridges a gap between other people. She bridges a gap between so many different bridges everywhere. Anyway, she's written a beautiful book, and she's a very significant person. So I'm grateful that you're here, Fee. Tell us about you. Where do you live? And where you're at today. How'd you get to where you're at and writing this book? And
oh gosh, wow, what a big question. Yes. It's exciting time to be alive right now, and I've just finished the book was finished, I guess, probably a month or two ago, but I've just received it into my hands on Friday, so it feels really big. And yeah, I guess what brought me here was social work. I was a social worker for 10 years, working in the child protection industry. And that was really challenging, but a really rewarding career. And then the institutional changes came, and if I chose not to do something, then I basically had to go and find another job. So I started to really deeply research and look into what was going on during that, that really big change of policy that occurred at that time. And yeah, so I started going down the rabbit holes a bit, and so then I've written a book because I think I figured out a pretty plausible answer of what's happening, and I really wanted to empower people with some solutions around how we can transition through this time. So yeah, but before that, I was in marketing and PR and public, and also I was a high school teacher. So that was an interesting short career because I moved into social work fairly quickly. But yeah, business background as well, and yeah, I've done lots of everything really, hospitality, and I was a telemarketer for a few years through university. Because I really didn't like hospitality. So, yeah, I was doing telemarketing. So I'm always really quite, whenever someone rings me, I'm always polite, but, end the conversation soon. Yeah, so big changes happening in the planet at the moment, and I wanted to try and capture it into a novel that would empower people with solutions.
And how do you get your insights to? Where did this come from?
Well, the inspiration for the book actually dropped in on an eclipse. So my dad had just finished writing his autobiography, and he was in Army Aviation for his most of his career, and also flew the helicopters at SeaWorld. And he had lots of really great stories that he put into his book, and I kind of read that and helped him to edit that. And I thought, well, he's got some really great stories. I could put some of these into a fiction novel at the same time as kind of, unveil some clues as to what the conspiracies are that are happening on the planet. So, that I made it into like a spy fiction novel where you can, where the heroes and the hero and the heroine go through their pilots. So they travel around the world and uncover clues as to what's really going on the planet. Who is this hidden force? This interdimensional force that seems to be pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Yes, so my dad's definitely been an inspiration. And also Oracle Girl is from the UK, who has really done many years of work in and embodying more love on the planet. So she was another inspiration for me. But then when I started to research, I've looked at Greg Braden's work, Pam Gregory with the astrology, Jean, I forget his name, on Inspired Tribe. He's in Texas somewhere, I think. So I've really, done a lot of research to be able to weave the story together. Frank Jacob is another one, because the book covers a lot of themes, including religion, the monetary system, and the climate change stuff as well, environmental stuff. All the stuff. Yes.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that
But
sounds really. But it's actually it tells a story of someone. It weaves a story through the book.
Absolutely, through a narrative. So yeah, I realized that the best way to deliver this information was actually through a fiction novel. So it is absolutely fiction, and it's basically showing that humanity is far more powerful and then we've actually recognized or realized. And that's the key message of the book. It's a really empowering story. Yes, it gets dark in places, but it's important, I think, to bring awareness to some of the things that have actually happened in ancient history as well as modern history, so that we can then recognize that humanity is at a choice point. It's time for us to actually choose a direction to go in. And unless we've got all the information, which I think a lot of it has been hidden from us, or, we haven't been told the whole truth, then it's really difficult to give consent and to make a choice of how we want to actually move forward in dreaming the new dream.
And how do you see that, like with the AI and the technology that's coming out and the censorship laws and the bans and all of that? How do you see that?
Well, I mean, AI, I think, technology in the hands of people who want to use it for good, it's perfectly great. I'm certainly not anti-technology. Where I do have concerns is when they wanting to use it for surveillance, when it's really, not that necessary, or and also, of course, the key theme of the book is transhumanism and the nanotech that we've seen, that is proven now through many scientific researchers that have looked at under dark microscopy, the blood, and I've seen my own, and I have it in there, and I didn't consent to that. So this is a very deep concern that we need to address, that this is in our environment. And so, but the other key part to that is that our human body is a divine spark, and we have the ability to heal ourselves. So I'm not in fear of this, transhumanism agenda. And, they talk about the chips that they can put in and the brain chips, etc. But there is a concern there that mankind or humanity may lose its true essence and connection to nature if we continue to go down that path. And so that's why the other reason why I wrote the book was to alert people to the issues and the concerns of stepping too far away from our natural evolution, which is actually to go to Homo luminous, as I talk about in the book. And that's where we, really are evolving into a much higher frequency light body where we have a lot more talents and skills that are, coming online, which is really exciting time to be alive. And we don't need technology for that. It's us. We are the powerful ones.
Well, online, don't say online then, because everybody thinks online. It's an app I can download. But look, what you've done is human luminous. I mean, that's what we all need to hear. And we need to be aware of connecting with people outside of the technology to form these human connections. And despite what's fed to us through the media, which is always for a purpose, we need to find our tribe, don't we, really?
Well, we do. And I mean, part of the reveal in the book and some of the key themes are, it's a historical fiction, so it goes back to 1880s and goes right through to 2040. So I've time pierced into the future as well as to, the solutions and the world that we can actually create. And so hopefully the reader will experience that, by the time they get to the end as well and feel really, empowered. But essentially, the World War I and World War II are covered in the book as well. And the alternative historical perspective on those particular events and who funded them and why.
Yeah.
Because I think that was really important to reveal, an alternative perspective on that. And then, of course, goes through all of the formation of the globalist institutions and governments, and how how they've actually utilized their secret societies, I guess, that none of us were ever told about, to really frame the modern world. And none of us voted for that. It's not been democracy that's actually brought that into place. So unless we know truly what we're up against, it's a really, really challenging time to make it an informed choice around the way and the direction that we're being shepherded into, it seems.
Yes, and I guess, look, when I was younger, my father used to talk about what was going on in the world, told me how to read the newspaper. It's not so, it is, notice where the articles are placed in the newspaper. That's what you're being steered to have your focus on. And to just see it with, well, the newspapers or the production's going to be very biased towards whoever owns it. And to be able to, look at things that maybe the media doesn't tell us, and like what you're saying, and look at things like that from a different perspective and open up the mind a little bit, the more we get caught up in this mainstream media, I think the IQ level's dropping.
Definitely.
Where they talk about how important, through that whole COVID thing, they'd get on the TV and talk about all the deaths and all of that. And then the next thing, they'd talk about the sport. And they'd go on forever talking about sport, like as if it mattered. I know it does matter to some people, but some people aren't that way inclined.
Well, what we need to understand is that there's a huge propaganda, mind control, thing going on this planet. And that's a key thing that I've, really tried to explain and explore through this historical fiction. And this is what the characters uncover as part of their clues, is this really in-depth mind control. And religion is one of them that's actually been used, organized religion, to control the masses. And so the book dives into that. And I know that's a little controversial. Mum and dad always say, don't talk about politics and don't talk about religion. Well, I tell you, they're both in the book. So,
and that is the problem with society, is we're told not to talk about politics, not to talk about religion, not to talk about money. And when the COVID thing came out, and here's something else you're not allowed to talk about. And it was like, well, this is the problem. We're not talking. And we're listening to what the news is telling us rather than our loved ones.
Yep. And that's why putting it into a fiction novel was the best way to deliver it. It gives me divine protection. You know, I can be controversial because it's fiction. I love it. And, you know, there's it's okay to be a little bit controversial with Clandestine Wings. And when you look at the subtitle, it is The Evolving Story of Earth's Guardians. That's us. We are Earth's guardians. And as we drop into and evolve into our power, then, you know, we are here to bring the light and overcome any of the darkness. And it's interesting, you know, the analogy that it's used is that the hidden force is actually an interdimensional, you know, race. The book is, you know, I call them the Asura, and this comes from the ancient texts. And the Vedic. Text, yes. So the Asura. Yeah. So are they like they're the demonic kind of?
They're the demons. They're the ones that are. Well, you know, there's always so many personalities and egos, and this is all going on in the demonic world. Yeah, and in the God world as well. You know, in the God world, some of the gods go off. I saw this fabulous. I think I saw many. There's like 129 episodes, and I learned a lot from that. But it's Vedic stuff, you know. I love the stories about Shiva and Shakti and creation and the personalities and the egos and the Asuras coming to destroy the world, and then they've got to save the world and how they trick each other. They're always tricking each other.
That's the whole thing, the deception. It's been around for thousands of years, you know, and that's what I really wanted to go into the ancient texts to reveal the warnings that we were actually having given, because this hidden force has been here for millennia. And it's really hard to prove that it's still here. But you see it in the patterns, you know, and so that's what I've, I guess, tried to achieve through the writing of my book. And I mean, you know, the Gnostics call them the archons. You know, there's different terminologies for this hidden force and Watiko is the Indigenous word for the mind virus that you know has affected humanity. So
what nationality is that? Aboriginal?
No, sorry. American Indian.
American Indian.
Yes. So my heroine character, Miri, falls in love with an American Indian in the book.
Why not?
Yeah. That's right.
I had this guy speak to me. He rang me once. It was from a group I was in. And he told me his father or his grandfather was the last of the real Eskimos. And that he felt that he'd been civilized. And so he didn't know much about. And that's the sad thing, isn't it? You know, and that's what history does, doesn't it? You know, well, they burn books. I mean, I was reading a book. I was reading a book with friends, and it's such a classic. It's called by John Bradshaw. And these books came out in the 80s. It was real self-development, you know, videos, everything. And it was all about the inner child and inner parenting. And one of his books is The Shame That Binds. Shame, you know, should have already mastered everything. You know, shame's at the bottom of everything, right? Even under guilt. You know, if you can get to the shame, you've hit the bottom and you see what's going on with you. And even that book, my friend was reading it out. And she started reading this stuff that's really topical today and talked about in every news show, just about, in every newspaper. It just goes on and on. And I said, hang on a second, that wouldn't have been around in the 80s. And I said, this book was written in the 80s. And I said, just have a look in the front. And it had been re-edited to show the concerns that we have today that, you know, some people are for and some people are against. And it was incredible. It was re-edited in 2005, which is still 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
So we know this journey is a long journey we're on.
We do. But what's really interesting is that I think that there's, and what I've tracked and put into the book is the resets that have occurred over millennia.
Yes.
And I think we're in the middle of the fifth one. And
that's what they say, isn't it?
Well,
I thought it was the fourth industrial revolution.
Well, no, I'm talking about resets that I've calculated from the fall of Atlantis, and then the time of the priests of in
Greece.
Yeah, no, ancient Egypt.
Oh, okay.
There's the time of Christ, and then there's actually another one after that. Oh, Tartaria is another one. That was the most recent one in the 1800s. And now I think we're in the fifth reset where it's technology. And once everything is online, they can wipe it like that.
Yeah.
So they burnt the book of the Alexandria Library back, I think that was around the time of Christ. Anyway, it's all, and my memory is really bad, so I can't remember the exact, details of it. But I've got a whole chapter in here that basically is the structures, the resets that have occurred over the last, 15,000 years. So
but in school you learn about the Neanderthals, and they were hunters and gatherers. And then they started farming. So then the agricultural era started. And then the factories started getting built. And then there was the industrialized era.
Yeah.
And each time there was just horrendous consequences.
That doesn't sit well for me. What about Lemuria and Atlantis? I'm having memories of that time.
You're on the 5D. You're on the 5D. Yeah. I'm talking about 3D school where 70% of people have learned, right? 70 people don't. Not a lot of people have a portal and an opening. I mean, how did you get your portal and opening to this? From your dad?
No. Gosh, my galactic portal and opening. Well, it's really interesting. When my son was only a baby, so that's 15, 16 years ago, I did a 48-step process where it was like a meditation or, with the school of a Cryon school, Kryon school. And I think that was actually my portal of opening back then. And
what made you do that? What made you do that? What drew you to it?
Well, I've always been a seeker. My mum's always like, why can't you just be content and just, be happy in your life? I said, because something doesn't feel right. It's never felt right, So I've always been seeking, a plausible reason or explanation for what's happening here. And so that's probably why I did that. I've always been quite a, spiritual, esoteric person, I guess, but very practical at the same time. I'm, and in the business world and marketing and public relations, which is probably why I'm the perfect person to write this book, right, at this time, because I've got the practicality as well as the spiritual side, and that's what's weaved through, through this story of empowerment.
So I wouldn't have been attracted to a course like that.
Yeah.
Well, because I was a computer person and a yogi, but I wasn't aware. Well, I did learn about the sixth sense. And I did, a lot of times when I was a kid, I did put myself in some very risky situations, and I was saved all the time, like God was there for me. God had a plan that a universal energy did look after me.
Sure.
But I was still very much caught up in the world of, changing nappies and trying to earn money and being in a relationship. And the deepest I got was doing yoga, which was a beautiful portal for me. But I started off doing it because it felt good.
Yeah. Yep. And, I tried so many different yogas, and I just, nothing ever gelled for me until I found Kundalini yoga. And so my son was 3, so I think it's probably only 10 years or 12 years ago that I found Kundalini yoga, but I loved it. It's fast-paced breath work. You really do go into another zone with Kundalini yoga, and it's got singing, and I love to sing. And so, this the singing of the mantra in the Gurumukhi language, it's just magic. There's magic in it.
Sing it for us.
Oh,
Sing
you
it
can
for
sing a little
us.
bit.
Come on, I'll sit here like this. Sing it for me.
What's a good mantra to sing in Gurumukhi?
No, I want you to sing that one. Can't you sing that one?
Which one?
The Gurumukhi mantra or something you said?
Oh, Gurumukhi is the language. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay. All right.
that's actually just because Kundalini yoga is kind of like the umbrella yoga. All the other yogas kind of fit underneath it. But yeah, the mantras Ramadasa
Sa se so hum.
That's it. Yeah.
I
So
know
that's
that one.
the healing mantra.
Ramadasa sa se so hum. And so hum is the inhale. Well, it doesn't have to be because sometimes it can be the exhale. Inhale, exhale.
And it's actually, instead of om in Kundalini yoga, we use ong. So it's a really nasal sound. And then it
How do you
really
spell that?
the pineal gland. ONG. Ong. Yeah. Yeah. And some of the mantras, like in the sadhana in the very early morning, it's a very powerful ek Onkar Sat Nam City Wa Hey Guru. I love it. I so love it.
You're very good.
Isn't she? She's so talented, Vic. I mean, not only has she just written a book, but, she's quite a community person in this area, bringing people together and coming up with great ideas and doing a hell of a lot of work to get things off the ground. And
yes,
I'm putting herself out there.
I am, and I think that public speaking is something that I've got to get more practiced at, because I've got a lot of great solutions and ideas of how we can create parallel systems to help us transition to dream in the new dream. And so I'm kind of in the process right now of creating operations manuals, so to speak, of how we can do that on a variety of fronts. And so, yeah, it's an exciting time to be alive. And I'm really excited that I'm going to have my book launch on the 20th of February in Byron at Byron Theatre. I've just booked that venue. I'm going to have
such a funky place. Such a funky little place.
But it's professional, and it's and I'm going to have a panel of people speaking about the solutions of what we can do.
Great idea.
Yeah, we're going to have a choir singing, including me singing. Elizabeth's going to do a beautiful performance of some sort. And
beautiful Elizabeth.
Yeah, she's so beautiful. She's the developmental editor of my book as well. So she's going to be helping me, supporting me with this book launch. But it's not just a book launch. It's actually, I've planned it for the date of the 0 degree Aries, which is conjuncting with Saturn and Neptune for the first time since 4,600 BC.
6,000 years ago, huh?
6,000 years ago. So essentially, when you look at, and this is coming from Pam Gregory, this information, if you don't know Pam Gregory, she's on YouTube and a really great astrologer, very uplifting astrology.
Very uplifting.
Yeah. And so she has said that this is essentially like the beginning of the new earth, and the time that we really can harness that energy to create the planet and the utopia that we want to see on this world. And so, because I'm such a practical person, I've actually, come up with some really, through my research, come up with some really great ideas and found some really amazing people who are doing amazing things. And so they're going to be there on the panel to help, set the tone for the reset, the cosmic reset of Homo Luminous and the ascension of planet Earth. Woohoo! It's time.
It's time. It's about time. It's about space.
Yes.
It's about, well, that sounds really good. I was going going to say something, but I can't remember what it was now. It was when you were talking about the panel. Yeah, that's what I thought. You know, this visioning of a positive future, you know, I know what I don't want, you know, but I really don't know what I do want. Well, I don't want to be controlled, and I want to be free.
Yeah.
And I want to have respect for others. I want other people to have respect for me. I want to be safe.
Yeah.
I want to be around inspiring people and people who validate me, who hear me. I know those things. I would really like you to do an online once a week visioning quest where you talk about what visions are and then let everyone say what their visions are.
That sounds like a beautiful idea, Zoe.
Yeah, and you can SoundCloud it.
Yeah, yep. Kind of like a podcast.
And we get back together again next week.
Yeah, well, that would be amazing. And I think, you know, there's quite a few hurdles and challenges that humanity as a collective need to overcome. The push for technocracy is obviously one of them, but also the monetary system. The monetary system is you know, been set up deliberately to enslave us, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, and that's what causes a lot of harm in society, where, you know, people are in survival mode, they're in lack, they're just trying to put a roof over their head, or they don't have enough money, and so they're stealing and, you know, not doing right by their neighbor. And so the monetary system is a key factor that needs to change, and unfortunately it looks like they're, you know, heading down the digital currency, as in central bank digital currency route, which, you know, is programmable money, and then obviously gives the institutions more control, you know. So it's not the path that we want to go down. And we do have a solution, though, you know, and so we're going to be talking about that at the book launch. But I think that podcast is a great idea to bring, you know, visionaries on who have, you know, have some of the solutions for this, for some of these really ingrained issues that are very challenging to overcome. But the beautiful thing is, people are waking up. They're seeing the issues, they're seeing the problems, and they're looking for alternatives now. And I think that's where my book really, you know, will help to hopefully reach more people in the more mainstream, and because it's fiction, you know, and you can take or leave whatever you want from it, you know. It's the whole, I guess, message of the book is it's your inner gnosis. It's actually up to you what feels true for you and your own discernment. And then that's the empowerment, you know, that's the empowering message that comes through, really, through the whole novel, is that we all have intuition and an inner knowing. And when you can actually tap into that, then all of this fake AI stuff, you know, some of the deep fake stuff, it looks really real, you know, like it spins me out just how real some of these things are that are totally fake. So, do you know what I mean?
Well, I do know what you mean. And you know, just coming back to the money thing, one of the biggest problems, I think, is, and I do it myself, you know, like use my credit card, and then when the statement comes in, well, I usually don't look for like 3 months, and I go, what was that? What did I spend that on? Whereas if you get X amount of money out of the bank in cash, you spend it, you watch it go. You're more aware of that. And a lot of young people, they love the power of just tapping the phone and walking away without another thought. And I do think that debt for young people is increasing. I do think that people are shown the way to cope with life is to go out and have a flash. You're successful if you've got a flash car and flash dinners, and you've got a girlfriend that looks like this or a boyfriend that looks like that. And and that's that whole marketing thing that's targeted at the young ones. Yeah. They're the future, aren't they? It's, you know.
convenience of the tapping and you know, of the card, and all the phone. Like, it's not even the card now. They just hold their phone up to it, you know.
Yes.
You know?
Soon it'll be the wrist. Soon it'll be the wrist.
That's right.
That's what I did. I went down to Melbourne, and you know, you get off the plane and you can buy some food, and I went there to, I think I was buying chocolates or something. So God protected me. But, you know, basically she goes, "Nah, we don't accept cash. Card only." And I said to her, "Oh, God, I wish they just hurry up and put the chip in, because I just, you know, I'm sick of carrying my wallet around, so I'll go without then."
Oh,
Just
my
walk up.
goodness.
And they just look at you like, what is she saying?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I do sometimes find that businesses really appreciate when you pay cash as well, you know, and so I try to pay cash all the time, everywhere, and that's, you know, that's certainly my general practice. And, you know, shopping at the local markets rather than going to the corporations.
Supporting the farmers and supporting fresh food. And we know what it is, you know. Otherwise, you can go to Woolworth, I mean, one of those brand names, and you can buy something, and it could have been flown over from Mexico. I mean, if you're talking about climate change, how about we don't transport garlic all the way over from China when we've got the perfect climate to buy garlic, and people wouldn't have to spend $50 a kilo, or ginger or turmeric, you know, and
absolutely, we need to bring it back to the local, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And I think that's where we're headed, because, you know, I mean, I don't know about supply chain, but I think that a lot of our produce gets shipped overseas, and then we ship a lot in, and, you know, the supply chain could actually, you know, is a huge risk, you know. So we need to be supporting our local farmers, and there's great local markets around where we are, you know, farmers markets. So we're very, very blessed.
And you know what I think? Like, my son lives in just out of Wauchope, and you know, it's a rural area. There's a lot of food grown there, a lot of good food grown there, but their farmers market is just crap. And I think people should come up here and see how successful, you know. I was on the Chamber of Commerce there when I lived in Bondi, and it was very interesting, you know, because it was about promoting businesses. And I just think, you know, people to get a start and have independence, you know, if you can do that, if you're that way inclined. Anyway, I just think, wouldn't it be good if, you know, the person who runs that market, and probably many, many others in Australia as well, came to Mullumbimby and New Brighton and Byron Bay and just saw how friendly their markets are. And, you know, at Mullumbimby, they have 3 musicians. You walk in, there's some music, then the middle there's music, and the end. And we've also got that guy with the hula hoop, you know, like, how old is he? 70 or something? And he hula hoops. Hula hoops for 3 hours non-stop.
Yeah. It is. I mean, where we live is just such a vibrant, beautiful place and community, and having the beaches. I just, you know, I'm in nature at least 3 times a week. I either go for a walk to the lookout, or, you know, or I head down to New Brighton Beach, and I just feel so blessed to be, you know, in nature. And this is one of the key, I think, practices of this modern time, where we are going through massive changes and transitions, that we need to just be out in nature and being in the silence and just hearing the birds chirp and swimming in the ocean and just really, you know, coming back to stillness so that we can, I used to live
in Bondi, and for 38 years, Bondi Beach. I mean, I did move around and not live there for 10 years at a time and things, but somehow I was on the rabbi's emailing list, and I'd get invited to the events that they had, and probably because that community, very strong community, possibly owned the Picture Theatre. So they would have events at the Picture Theatre, and this one time I went was on game addiction. Computer game addiction. And they had a panel of people, and the one thing that really stood out, which is in line with what you were just saying, was he was a counselor. You know, he'd come to, parents would hire him to give therapy to their kids who were totally addicted to technology, and he said what he would do is he would take them outside and get them to look at a tree and see the different lights of colour on the tree and the different shapes of the leaves, and that was a long time ago. You know, that was maybe 10 years ago. And then probably about, I don't know, many years, another time I was on the bus, and these two young boys get on the bus, and I can hear their conversation. It's about like, no, I was on the game all night last night. Wow, you know, I didn't sleep, and doesn't it feel weird being on the bus? You know.
Yeah, it's like an ultra reality, like a totally alternative reality that they go into, and the way that the brain actually rewires as well when there's a gaming addiction is very serious, you know, because it's not natural. It's not actually aligning with nature. So I think there's a big shift now occurring where people are recognizing that the technology, even the smartphones, it's affected the way you think and the way your brain ticks. And my memory is not what it used to be. Could just be
straight into the pineal gland.
Yeah. So, you know, so having a technology detox is really important. The other thing that I've really gotten into since I went to Fiji and Tonga recently, and I was staying right on the beach and waking up with the beach, and because I'm an early riser, sun gazing at sunrise, looking straight at the sun. It's amazing and beautiful. Obviously, once it gets to a certain height and for too long, you don't want to do it for too long, but
no,
you know, but it's really, you know, that's actually affects your mitochondria. Like, it's really good health, you know, connection practice to actually sun gaze. I love it.
Yeah. My son went to the Kumbh Mela, and I don't know if you know about the Kumbh Mela, but it's when all the bubbas come out of the Himalayas, and it's usually on once every 12 years. So there's like 40 million people coming to this place near the Ganges. And this year, you know, this is in January this year, they had like 60,000 security cameras. Anyway, my son Sam went, and he had, I mean, it's a big story. He had like three lucky scrapes that he survived, and he was actually taken into the tent with the bubbas, and he could feel their energy. You know, these guys, you know, they sit by the fire and they chant. And anyway, this one bubba took, you know, not that they spoke that much English, but anyway, this bubba said to Sam when he left, he said, if you just look at the sunrise between this time and this time, you will have no illnesses.
Interesting.
Gaze at the sun. Yeah, they know a lot, those bubbas, but science, you know, Western science hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah. Well, I certainly have felt the benefit from it, you know, and so as I'm looking at the sun, you know, for a little bit I'll be in silence, but then I love to sing, so I start to sing. And funnily enough, when I was in Fiji, I was just staying at kind of, you know, not a posh resort, just kind of like a homestay. It was called a homestay with a family, which was a much better experience. You get to meet the true, you know, Fijians. Anyway, there was a lovely French family staying next to me, and I was telling them about Kundalini yoga, and they asked if I would teach them a class, and I said sure. So I taught some Frenchies in some Kundalini yoga in Fiji.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
It's beautiful, isn't it? You know, people who have an opening like you, we all have some similarities, and I think a lot of those people have congregated into this area. I know certainly a lot escaped to here when the lockdowns were on, and so there's a lot of people in this area that whereas for some areas, you know, your book might be challenging for them.
I think so. Like, it's definitely going to be a little bit triggering. It is a little bit confrontational. It's diving into concepts and, you know, belief systems that we've been fed and conditioned to, that, you know, for hundreds of years. So, you know, it's definitely got got some trigger points there for sure. But what the key thing that I kind of realized as I did all this research, particularly into the ancient texts, is that I truly moved from being a victim and tyrant, and sort of feeling like there's something out to get me, or, to empowered and really sovereign. Like it healed me. Writing this book healed me from, and really helped me to step into my power and
empower yourself.
And empower myself. And I think that's, I truly felt like an activation from the content and from the channeling that came through. And I don't want to give too much away about it, but during the Palladian portal, and I guess because I was researching, I found out that there was a Palladian portal. I got really sick. I had a terrible head cold, really bad cough. It was 2 weeks and I was here sitting in a very comfy vintage chair and continuing on with the book. But what happened was that I was on the second edit, it dropped in that there are dimensional stargates on planet Earth. And so I wrote them into the book.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
That was
multidimensional
Kalimna last week. Kalimna last week was talking about the Egyptian. She went to Egypt and
and so
doing
and it's actually the toning that has from the ancient Egyptian lineages that helps to open these potential dimensional stargates. So my character does go to the Giza pyramid as well in the novel, and has an experience there where he's in a portal. And then also my heroine goes to Göbekli Tepe, which was, I think, very active during the time of Lemuria. And then it was covered up hurriedly and basically hidden from whatever force was coming towards. And then whoever built Göbekli Tepe abandoned Earth or left the temple and covered it up, so that whoever was coming after them or, invading didn't get the technology or have access to that temple. So interesting when you look at the ancient, structures and the ancient texts. And so I've just loved this, the research part of this book to bring it together into the modern time. And like I said, my characters go through and find the clues. That's exactly what I did. I was going through and finding the clues, to then weave it into a narrative to come to an amazing, empowering climax where humanity comes back to and aligns with nature again.
Sounds like you've saved us a lot of time in having to do that research, and we can read it and just take what we want and leave the rest and see what resonates with us, and be willing to open our minds from and that requires brave people. Have to be brave to do that. A lot of people want to believe that what's going on, they're totally protected, and we've got to believe what we're being told. If I was to that's rocky for people to question.
Well, it is, because we've been lied to. We've been lied to about just about everything, and that's what my research came up with. So I did on the website, and Jeff was just showing there the resource page, chapter by chapter. I've gone through and shown the deeper dive into where I've actually collected the snippets that are in the book, because the book is such an overarching every picture of everything that sometimes there's only one or two sentences about certain things that you could go and read 3 books on, or watch a 2-hour documentary on. So, and I have done that. I've watched a lot and done a lot of deeper dives but then put the snippets in to weave it all together to kind of give the evidence of the biggest conspiracy of all, which is the hidden force on the planet. That is a parasitic force. It's a parasitic force. It's not actually native to this earth, and so it's not aligned with nature. And but they've used deception and lies to entrap us into, I guess, a form of simulation, using the monetary system, using religion, using mind control. And and it's time for us
drinking
to
water, drinking water, food.
Yeah, exactly. All the chemicals, the medicine, all of the medicine that's, the ancient cults, and let alone talking about the governance systems, what the Vatican has done. I had a moment when I got to that chapter and I just went, woohoo, I got you, you bastards. I put it into the book, the actual legal history of how they've claimed the human body, as property. And universal law, it's time for universal law to be recognized by every entity on this planet. And that's what my book is all about.
And this is where, for me, I think what's happening on a mass scale happened to Aboriginal people 200 and however, what was it, 1770, 250 years ago. The colonization where, they had such highly sensitive spiritual skills, you know. They can. And there's still some healers who can see if your soul is out of place and your spirit, and they can see that, and they can travel and it's just so out of our realm, isn't it? You go to the doctor, you sit in the office, you tell him what's wrong with you, he writes you a script and you go down to the pharmacy. Except for Mullumbimby. He writes you a list and says, go to Mullum Herbs.
Yeah.
We all walk past it.
That actually did happen to me for a little skin thing that I had. He's like, go to Mullum Herbals. That's so I was like, that's pretty impressive. But there is actually an attempt to colonize this planet through transhumanism. That's exactly, it's a spiritual war that we are having to address right now. There's but it's like a balloon within a balloon. There's the infinite consciousness of love, the spark of humanity and the infinite spark that we are. And then there's this kind of parasitic force that's, that we just need to flick off. We just got to flick it off. And that's what we're doing.
They see us as less than, huh?
Well, I think they're jealous, to be honest, because they don't have that connection to nature and to planet Earth, to the infinite spark of consciousness that we do. Yeah. And so they're trying to capture that. And
love. And we have love. They don't have love either. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's but you take from the book whatever it is that resonates for you. This woo-woo might be too woo-woo for you. It doesn't matter. You can see the patterns in the history, and that's why I wrote the book. I don't want to put anyone off, from reading it because it's too woo-woo, but it's fiction.
No.
Beauty of it.
I'm sure there'll be a lot in there that people would relate to, and it would give them food for thought. And I really like the way that you're linking history to it, to say we just go in these cycles. History repeats itself. Split Ends wrote that song, didn't they? History repeats itself. And
but we've got a window right now. We've got a beautiful window with the astrology and where the planet is moving through the universe, that and 3i Atlas is arriving on the 19th of December, as in going to be the closest to planet Earth.
This Friday, isn't it?
My research has shown that this interstellar object is visiting all of the planets in our solar system to raise the harmonics. It's actually a benevolent frequency that's lifting the harmonics for the whole of our solar system, including planet Earth. And it's just such an exciting time to be alive. So anyway, I managed to squeeze that in right at the before the final edit went in. So 3i Atlas is in my book.
And isn't that wonderful that you've got that perspective, rather than feeling like we're a victim, we're all doomed, or ignoring what's going on. You're giving us a third perspective, another way to look at things. And if we can't vision that, how can we make that happen? You've got to have the dream to make the dream, to know when the dream's there. If we if we can vision it and we know what the dream is, like
That's
Jeff's
right.
show, Earthing the New Dream.
And that's exactly what this book did for me. With the first draft, it was all pretty, dark actually, but then the second draft, I brought the love in, and then it really was a healing journey. And I imagine that that's when it's going to happen for the reader. It's a very vulnerable place when you put your creative work out into the world, and no one's I've had a few beta readers, which has been very positive feedback, but because it's only been out for a week, I'm just at that point of waiting to hear from reviews as to what people think. So it's kind of, it's an exciting time, and it's a vulnerable place for an author who has poured their heart and soul into something for 2 years, to get it to this point. And just hope that people resonate with it, and that is a catalyst for change, because that's the goal for the book as well, to really bring in that dream of the utopian Earth that I know is possible. We've had it before. Lemuria was it, we've lived it before. I have the memories. Maybe that's why I've been so passionate about writing this book.
So how many pages in that book?
So it's 152,000 words, about the same size as Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, but the chapters are short, so they're bite-sized pieces, around 1,000 words each, and it's fast-paced. It's it jumps from the timeline moves fairly quickly. So, but yeah, it's a big book. It's 606 pages.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And what did your son say? Did your son read it?
He hasn't read it yet. He has a copy sitting on his desk. He thinks I'm a bit woo-woo, but he can see that I'm really content and happy in my life, and that this.
And you're doing well in life.
That's right. I'm doing really well.
The woo-woo is not a hindrance to you.
No, it's very, very practical. And in fact, I've just taken on a new role now that the kind of books is just in the promotion marketing part. As operations manager for a new business mentoring group that's actually called Awarepreneur. So it's like for entrepreneurs to become more aware. I love it.
So where can people buy your book, mate?
All of the links are on my website, clandestinewings.com. Actually it's on the homepage, I think, if you want to get the paperback version. But the other thing that I'm doing, which is really unique, because I think it's more important that this book gets out there and is read, and that money is no barrier. So also on my website, I only just finished setting this up today, is a PDF download where by donation, so you just go to the PDF and you can actually put in whatever amount you feel called to give in return for the PDF, if you just want to read the electronic version. And all of those funds are going to support a private foundation, Illumina Pathways Foundation, and so these funds are going to be used to help build the new Earth, and that's the vision, this book as a platform, and to create a massive shift and change, in humanity and for the planet.
My next question is, how big is the font on the book?
12. 12 is the stock standard that the publisher recommended.
Okay. And when's it going to become a talking book?
The Audible book. Well, I was told by the publisher that it's really expensive to get it onto Audible, like $10,000. So not yet,
Okay.
but it's on my list. But I do have a friend who is a recording person who said, well, we can just record your voice reading it, and put it out as an MP3. And I'm like, okay, chapter by chapter. So, I'm looking into that, but it's not there yet. But you can actually download apps that read you the PDF.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I forget what they're called, but if you just Google that or Brave it, or into your app store, you'll find Speechify. Speechify is one of them. And they'll read you the PDF. So, it's obviously not going to be in my voice, but it will be read to you. Yeah. So that's another option. And then you can just get the PDF by donation. And yes, get Speechify and have it read to you.
Yeah, because I only say that because my mum and dad, as they got older, they're going to the library and getting the big 24 font bloody print because of their glasses. And then they discovered bloody audiobooks. And so it was really convenient for them to do that as you get older.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they moved away from electronic stuff. So all of a sudden we gave Mum an iPad so she could bloody open up the word so she can read it. That's fantastic, mate. Okay, so out of all that, did your heroine and hero get on a plane to go down to Antarctica?
No, they actually, they flew through the ether to open the Antarctic.
Don't tell us the ending.
So no, they didn't get on a plane. They didn't need to. They were in their multidimensional homoluminous state.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, this is just it, isn't it? What we're fed and what we believe. I'm sure there's more advanced energy systems out there. There's just more advanced things that, they've said that, didn't they? Then they say that
Absolutely.
Tesla, invented these things and everything gets, and why would people believe the media when everything gets changed around all the time? Like, really? Yeah. But people don't know that. And that's why they need to know the history to see that my friend, she died when she was 93 and she came to Australia as a 19-year-old girl from the Seychelles. She just got a suitcase and said goodbye to her parents that were plantation owners in the Seychelles and just got on a ship, and she got to Mumbai and was horrified and spent a week there, and then she came to Australia and she went to the WM, what is it? Young Women's what was it called? YMCA. Yeah, YMCA. And she went there, and then she ended up marrying my accountant, who I used to teach technology to back in the 80s. But she used to say, she was like a mother to me. I just loved her. And she used to say to me, nothing changes, my dear. Everything's all the same. It's always the same. It just repeats. No. I suppose it changes and goes up another level a little bit more. Less prehistoric, I suppose, or more advanced, what we call advanced, But would you really call that advanced, this technology stuff, where people are losing their intuition, they're losing their
It's actually
creativity.
More of an invasion. It's more of an invasion, I think,
Yeah.
and a disruption to our natural rhythm that is, so it's an interesting choice point for humanity. Do they go down that technocratic transhumanism technology path, or do they choose to use technology in a really wise way and continue to align with nature? This is the choice point. This is what my book asks of people to come to their own conclusions with, and make sure that they recognize that they do have a choice. We don't need to be forced and herded into something that we don't consent to. That's what they've tried to do, and we have a choice. We are the powerful ones. That's what my book is. Hopefully,
we lived without technology. We did live without technology. Yeah. I guess it's young people knowing that.
Yeah.
How would it be to live without technology? And my advice to anyone out there who's just only using technology, and I was one of them, from contacts I've had on Facebook. I used to teach Facebook as a subject at TAFE for 20 years, right? and a lot of my contacts were from school. People, we all found each other. We formed high school groups and different interest groups, and then you'd speak to someone that you haven't spoken to for a long time. And I just left it at that. And then 3 weeks ago, I get a message from Facebook that I need to do the biometric thing. I need to prove who I am and how old I am.
Yeah.
And, I need to get my camera and I need to do what they tell me to do. Now, you can't tell me that they already know what I look like, because the camera's been on me for 20 odd years.
Exactly.
They know what I look like. They know what I sound like. They know who I am.
Why are they doing that? It doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it?
Well, I just said, I won't have Facebook anymore then. But this is the message of advice. Make sure you get yourself an address book. And I'm telling everyone to do it, and I still haven't done it. Get yourself an address book. I wouldn't know my son's phone number.
particularly
You know?
if you're drawing a line
my
in the
sisters.
sand, like I am about biometrics. I just won't do it. I think that is my line in the sand.
Me too.
You know? Yep.
Me too.
So definitely get an address book. Good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Write down these things and people's address.
Mm.
And who was saying, I was listening to this guy. Oh, he was on Redacted. And he was an Indian guy. They're very good with technology. And he was talking about getting a Linux phone and a Linux computer, because even though people are using VPNs, they're still going through Apple or they're still going through Microsoft, you know, and then they're going through a satellite, you know. So I really don't think anything's private myself.
No, not at all. But one last thing I want to mention is about traveling through international airports and this whole smart gate thing and the biometrics. Apparently they're asking for fingerprints and face scans and all sorts of things. This is not mandatory. This is not something you have to do. More people sort of say, no, I'd rather talk to a person, thank you, and show my passport than, you know, go through this smart gate stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to flag that it's not mandatory. There is alternative choice, and let's hope that more people actually continue to use that alternative and not just herd through the digital stuff.
The thing is, though, is if you're on the technology too long, the pineal gland's calcified, you don't know what you want and what you don't want. You're actually very easily led, you know, because you're walking down that you get off the plane and the first thing you do is turn your phone on, you know, and so you're walking down there answering messages and all of this stuff. Oh, yeah, okay, do it. Let me get back to this, you know, like it's so super addictive.
It is. So it really is a time of choice, and I know I'm going to be choosing nature. You know, that is definitely the path that I'm walking down, and with parallel, you know, systems that are aligned with nature and not being herded into the digital cage that they're building around.
Yeah,
trying
and knowing,
humanity.
and we do have this time where we do have those social media platforms and things where we can get people's contact details. You know, there's only there's probably 70% that just go along with what they're told because they're so busy, they're working, they're studying, they're bringing up kids, you know, they don't have time to research. That's why they should be buying your book.
That's right. It's big summary, one big summary with an entertaining story with it.
Researching. He's done it all for you. You don't even need to worry about it all. It's all there. See what sits. And of course, you've referenced all that where you've got the resources from. So if people want to know more, they can go find out from that resource. You know, how did that person who wrote that resource get to that idea? You know.
Yep, that's right. It was really important to me that, you know, that my woo-woo, that, you know, that I could show the evidence of where I found that woo-woo.
Yeah.
Have a bibliography. Okay. Nothing else to say? Anything else to report?
Well, I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
I knew we'd have a lovely chat like this.
Yeah.
And thank you for preparing. And we never got to hear that song, did we? We're not going to hear that song.
That's all right. Yeah. I should put it on my website because it is so uplifting.
Yeah, put it on your website.
Yeah, I'll put it on the website, and then the listener can go there and hear this amazing song that we made for the launch of the book. But yes, thank you so much for having me. This is my first radio appearance, and so I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and it's been very relaxed and lovely talk. So thank you very much. Great conversation.
Okay, we'll stay online when we just end the show. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Zoe.